Vaatv, Vietnamese American Arizona Television. Hello everyone, welcome back to vaatv.com. Welcome back to Vaatv Real Estate Show. Knowledge is the power. This talk show will cover a wide range of topics such as buying, selling, and investing in real estate, and provide the latest news and information about the real estate market from the expert Mr. Scott Bartlowe from SF Fuller Real Estate Investment, who opened doors to the American dream of home ownership. He will also provide the latest information on how to earn some profits by having real estate investment. So, hello, Scott. How are you today?
I'm very good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, hanging in there.
Been a busy day.
Running all day. So Scott, there was last week I heard the court has some ruling for the association, Real Estate Association.
That is correct.
Yeah. So would you like to share?
Sure. You bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah.
And this first slide that I'd like to put up there, it actually is sort of a synopsis. There it goes. It's from the United States federal court system, and it's from Missouri. Essentially what occurred is a number of plaintiffs, in other words, it was a class action lawsuit, and it was filed against the National Association of Realtors and 5 very large real estate brokerages. And what they were saying essentially was this, that the way that the National Association of Realtors and participating brokerages work with the MLS system, that they essentially force sellers to pay the buyer's agent's commission.
Okay.
And so in most cases, that is a pretty common way of doing things.
Right.
What the court did, and the verdict that came through was an adverse ruling to the National Association of Realtors. And what they're essentially saying is that they do not want to have that actual tie where if you're going to list your home for sale, that you're required to pay for the buyer's agent's commission.
Right.
Currently, as it sits on our MLS system, our MLS system is very similar.
Right.
And just a basic page from our MLS system. I know you can't see it at this distance, but
MLS. Yeah.
Yep.
Where all the listing and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This would be what you would have on your screen, a one-page listing on a particular property. And at the very bottom, there is a little box, and I'll show you. It's this box down here. It's a very tiny one.
Yeah.
But it's listed as SA. That's abbreviation for selling agent. Then there's no additional commission for the selling agent. Then there's one where it says BB. That stands for buyer's broker. And they're saying yes. Then in this case, they would pay a 2.5% commission to the buyer's broker.
Okay.
So in the particular case of this one on our MLS system, the seller would have paid a 5% commission.
Okay.
And it would take care of real estate commissions for the listing agent as well as the buyer's broker. Correct. In our listing contract, we do have the language in there so that they understand that 5% is not going just to one person, but it's being split among 2 people.
I see.
So going back to this court case, what they've come up with is they no longer desire that buyer's broker goes ahead and receives commission automatically. So already we are seeing in our MLS system, instead of it saying 2%, we've seen some people put $1 in there or 0. So what does that do? What's the net effect on that? So if you're selling your home, yes, you can reduce the amount of commission that you're paying. You can pay your listing agent.
Right.
And I don't think too much is going to change for the listing agent because the listing agent has expenses. They have to go ahead, advertise it, and all of that money is coming out of their pocket. So that'll probably continue pretty much unabated. But for the
buyer.
Seller,
So,
he's not going to have to pay for the buyer's broker.
oh,
So that if a buyer comes in, that buyer is going to need to make some form of compensation to his broker. Now, there's a couple of different ways that they can do it. And there's a lot of things that are being talked right now. None of this has been absolutely decided. The court hasn't given guidance out on exactly how they want to see the MLSs go. But I do know that the discussion, at least with brokers here locally already, is trying to avoid getting caught in a situation like that. So one of the things that we're already talking about is the possibility that, folks like first-time home buyers who can't afford to pay for a broker, how do they get good representation? So now you've got the person that's probably the most vulnerable trying to buy a home,
right,
because they have no experience,
right,
and yet they don't have a way of getting representation. So there's a lot of wrestling around. The idea behind the seller not paying the buyer broker commission was to reduce fees that a lot of consumers felt was unfair, which I understand. But there needs to be some method where those first-time home buyers and those inexperienced buyers can have representation. They're estimating that without representation, they could get taken advantage of.
Yes.
And they're currently looking for ways how they could compensate it. One of the ways that they could compensate it is very similar to what you see in commercial. Oftentimes when a commercial listing goes on, LoopNet, CoStar, Crexi, some of the big commercial listing sites, there may be no commission at all listed on there. So that it's up to the buyer's broker,
right,
either to request it in their contract when they make an offer to buy the property.
Yes.
They may make a written offer in there that the buyer's broker must be compensated by the seller.
Okay.
And that becomes part of the contract at the time of the contract. On the other hand, one of the things that we're really looking at is it's a document that we already have in our portfolio of documents, and it's called the Buyer Broker Exclusive Employment Agreement. And just like the listing agent has an employment agreement when he takes a listing,
right,
this document would serve as the employment agreement between the buyer and the buyer's broker. And then they would negotiate a separate method for how they would handle that buyer broker commission.
right,
One of the things about it is this would guarantee a commitment between both the buyer and the broker to do their best that they can to make sure that sale goes through. One of the things it talks about is, and this is something that this agreement has in it. For example, let's suppose that you had a buyer and he got into a buyer broker agreement and he went to a new home subdivision. And that new homes, just on a Saturday, just thought he'd stop in.
right.
Well, they register you immediately.
Oh.
So then if he wanted to bring his own buyer broker in, they wouldn't allow it because he's already been registered. So then once again, the buyer would not have any representation, but he would still have a responsibility to pay a commission on that house. So the buyer would.
Okay.
So what it basically does is it makes the buyer and the broker work together much closer. Now, in the long run, nobody knows for certain what's going to happen. It could very well be that they come up with different solutions, because as far as it stands right now, if you buy a house, there is no provision in your mortgage to pay for commissions.
Right.
So you would either have to pay it out of your pocket, you'd have to look for an alternative way of getting it done, such as going back and asking the seller to pay that. But it's what it's going to do. It's going to create a situation where there will be more negotiation over the buyer broker's commissions.
So it's already put into law, or like
not
already
not
approved,
quite yet.
Oh, not yet.
Quite yet.
Okay. You say that if it's approved, right? I don't understand like why why is that come up? You know, like with like somebody complaining of
Yes,
something.
yep.
Yeah.
You've had a number of consumers who did
Yeah.
not like the idea of having to pay for the buyer broker's commissions. You know, as it is right now, you know, and this is fairly typical.
Yeah.
We can't set the absolute commission because that's a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. But generally speaking, there's a traditional range where the commissions fall. And here in the Valley, it seems to be someplace between 5 and 6% is most common. In the case of, with this case going through, you may very well see where the commissions go down to 3%. And in that case, what would happen is the seller, the only thing that they're going to pay for is their own agents.
Their own, which is like half of that
half
before.
of that. Yep, half of it.
Like
so that's where
3%.
that's where some of the savings that they're talking about in the newspaper, that's where they're coming from, is that the seller will no longer pay for the buyer's agent.
Yeah. But I was thinking, let's say if the seller wanna sell it, right? And then the broker on the buyer side will come across and say, "Oh, I have a potential buyer. If I bring you this customer and buy your house, can you give me something?" So that is when it's okay to kick in.
Yes.
Yeah, like the seller approved to pay.
And that's very similar to the setup that you see frequently with commercial sales.
Okay. Yeah. So then not automatically like before, just put down on that form. But so now the National Real Estate National Association will do that when they approve, right? When they finalize it.
As it's sitting right now, the judge who heard the case is still reviewing how he wants the MLSs to work going forward. But I do anticipate a change. In fact, I know from talking with several agents, we're already here in the Valley, we're already seeing some people saying 0% for the buyer's agent.
Zero. Oh, wow.
Now, at the same time that all this is going on, there's a lot of folks out there who have bought and sold homes for years, and they understand the dynamics of it. And they understand, especially if they're selling to first-time home buyers, they may very well be drawn in to sell or to provide commission for them. So they look at that as an expense of selling.
And then, like this is, you say a different state, not in Arizona.
Not in Arizona. This was in Missouri.
Missouri, I see. So I was thinking like it's big, okay. As far as like they put into the request to do that. But like you said, with a commercial real estate, they can always find things around it, except a different way.
Exactly.
So they're gonna still get the money.
And the reason that this has kind of come up is because of the way that the National Association of Realtors, they had their cooperation agreements in the Code of Ethics, as well as most of the time, the various MLSs, they're affiliated with National Association of Realtors. So it's kind of a common way of doing it nationwide.
I see.
When it comes to commercial, the National Association of Realtors does not have near the influence. They don't have there's not a MLS locally for commercial real estate. What you have is several large companies. CoStar LoopNet is one. They're nationwide, and it's a subscription-based service. It's very much aimed at commercial realtors, so they're used to the idea. I mean, from my standpoint, when I've done transactions in the past, I will ask the other broker, "Is there a co-broke?" In other words, what I'm asking them is there any method for paying me commission? And sometimes they say yes, they've already got that negotiated, or sometimes they say no. So in which case, if we make an offer on a property, my client has to know that there is no commission that's coming my direction. So they have to ask for it in their contract, in their offering contract. And then that becomes a bit of a negotiation back and forth with the seller.
Wow. I think like with the real estate world, people just like when they work, they gotta earn some money, like wherever that is. if the buyer agent or so the case like saying that the buyer is the one that put into a complaint that they don't feel like they want to have the money paid to the
seller.
broker.
The seller was the one.
Oh, the seller is the one.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Oh, seller is the one that complained like that's not fair. Like they could just pay their own.
Right. And the analogy they use is, let's say that you're in court,
right,
and you're paying, you're trying to sue someone, and you get to pay the guy's attorney fees that you're suing. So that they looked at it from that standpoint. That doesn't sound right at all.
Right.
Which, if you think about it, that's probably so. You only want to pay for whoever's delivering services to you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right.
So this will play out over the next year or so, but I think that we're going to see a large amount of change. One thing about it, getting into the real estate business is always fairly easy, and it's in the housing market where you see the most new agents. Typically, they're the ones that are representing first-time home buyers.
Right. Yeah.
So what I would see is, or anticipate seeing, is that the first-time home buyers are going to be at a disadvantage because, first off, I think we're going to see agents who leave the business because they can't make any money.
Right.
And secondly, I think that with this requirement, the first-time home buyers are going to be in a difficult predicament to pay for representation.
Or they have to just buy without getting any detail or information.
Well, and that's it.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about here over the last few weeks, you can be at a real disadvantage by not knowing some of those
because
things.
so much stuff, so much things for each individual cases, condo, townhome.
They're all different.
Single family, plan PUD, that. They're all different things to look at before you purchase. And what if something occurred during the transaction? What's the right that you can do? If they've no representative, only the seller will, the listing agent will take care only the seller side. They're not going to advise anything else.
That's correct.
Right? So you got to know what you want to do.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right.
And then, of course, no agent would like to get into know nothing about it or give any advice, because that's will be a legal issue.
That could be a legal issue for them as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why. Yeah.
They would definitely agents, if they weren't getting compensated and they weren't representing a client, they would not get involved in that case at all.
Right. Yeah. I think always there's things in anywhere like with the way how get paid. If let's say if everything's approved and granted, then it's legal, right? If the selling agent go that way, buyer broker can go and ask for the money. If you give, then I bring you this buyer.
Yes.
If not, they're going to go and bring the buyer to somewhere else.
Well, and what they do is basically they can submit just a written request saying, hey, if I bring you a valid offer for your home,
yes,
will you pay me X number of dollars, or will you pay me a certain percent?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So that's the way that could get handled.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, as the seller, you may still end up paying 5% commission in that instance.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Of course, we don't know. We don't even know before when the selling the seller pay for the commission and all that, then automatically when on the transaction, the buyer just not sometimes when you have something already in their hand, you take it for granted. You don't feel important of the role of the agent that helping you,
right?
So this is the
and it goes back to what some of the things we were talking about before. Where if you have a good agent, good agent has a lot of knowledge that they bring to the table. So it behooves that agent to be able to explain what value they bring.
Right, that's true. Like in the long run, and the best advice for the position, for the transaction at the
Exactly
time.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think like we don't know that yet until next year. You said like usually it's
You know,
that long,
it could
Uh-huh.
be here in the next few weeks.
Oh,
I know in the statement that came out from the president of the National Association of Realtors, they're going to appeal the court ruling.
Oh,
One of the things that they said in here is that they feel like the appeals process could take a couple of years,
oh, okay.
but they're still looking at ways on the immediate end how they can handle things.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that from my perspective,
Uh-huh.
I think we're going to see some real changes.
Some real change.
I think we're going to see a number of realtors who leave the business. And I really think that from the inexperienced first-time home buyers,
Yes.
I think they're going to have maybe a little bit more difficult
More
time.
difficult time with the situation. Yeah.
And then,
purchase.
you know, it's like everything else. We've got the Federal Consumer Protection Agency out there. They're going to start looking at ways then if they feel like the first-time home buyer isn't getting good representation.
Right.
They're going to start looking at ways where they can make sure that they get representation.
Yeah, right. But like so the whole story, this is going to be benefit to the seller. But I don't see the point. I mean, like seller, they want to sell their home. So they want to sell it as quickly as possible.
Correct.
And they don't want any issue, any court, any things happen like that. Because if something happened and there's no correct way of moving forward, then of course the buyer gonna seek the arbitration or whatever. It's gonna take more time, more issue, right? So versus let the real estate agent get involved and help the buyer and moving smoother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the things that's causing the most confusion on this is this is one of those things that it sounds like it's a good thing on the one side.
Yes.
But how do you handle all the other issues that pop up?
Right.
So this could be one of those things that comes up where we get a lot of unintended consequences that we have to go back and fix.
Wow. Yeah.
So my take on it is hang on.
Hang on. Yeah.
We're gonna see some change.
Like less job. The real estate
Well,
agent come out.
I think that's going to become exactly it. You're going to see a lot less realtors. And as I said, the realtors, there's a lot of them who maybe only sell 2 or 3 houses a year. You know,
they can get into a loan business, right?
Yeah, they can get into their businesses, but they
want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some they not good with the number, some they like to like show houses and they know geography and know the things. Yeah, some they don't like the number. But yes, I don't think it's gonna be the end of anything. So maybe, you know, we have to find way to survive.
Yeah, and
like, but if not, then we find the other way.
But you know, real estate has always been purchased and sold. So that's not going to cease. It's going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to the listing agents, I think the listing agents are going to be just fine. In fact, the seller who's represented by a good listing agent maybe find themselves even in a position of advantage.
Oh, I see. So maybe like so the listing agent can find a buyer.
There are possibilities of doing that. Yep. No.
But then the seller not gonna pay for extra money. That's it. You know, that's it.
And that can be negotiated.
That can negotiate.
The whole idea behind this whole thing was so that people it was open, so that everybody knew how much was being paid,
right,
and that it was open to negotiation.
Oh, okay. It's not like before automatically, just
exactly
down the line. Yeah. So we have to learn to know how to negotiate. Bargaining.
Yes, a little bit of bargaining is going to be a part of it for everybody.
Yeah. So everything, everywhere, we need to bargain.
Yes, and you know, some people may not want to negotiate.
Yeah.
You know, you may end up with some buyers who go, you know, I'm just fine with a flat rate. The way that we'd always done it. I'll pay a flat rate for the buyer's agent to buy my house, and let's just be done with it and move forward.
Because I see like there's a group of company that they name themselves like door to door or something, knock on door.
Yep.
Like they don't, they list, they take the listing very low rate, very low, and they just whoever call in and that person can just go in and then find the things they like for that house and contact them, and they do paperwork and send over contract.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like that.
All that works really well when
Yeah.
there's a lot of buyers out there. When you get into times like right now where there's fewer buyers,
Yeah.
and the buyers have more issues, like
And buyer maybe have more question and all that.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But the interesting thing is when this ruling came out, some of those companies, their stock fell.
Oh, wow.
And so they started scrambling and they started doing things like 0% commission, $1.
Wow.
So
like competition right there, and then
right there,
meaning,
exactly.
So
So
if difficult.
if you have a nice property
Right.
and it's in a great location,
Right.
you may be able to just get by with a listing agent who it's what we call limited services,
Okay.
where maybe all they do is they put it on the MLS. They don't negotiate with the buyer.
They don't show house.
They don't show it, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's all up to you other than getting the listing on the MLS.
Right.
So, and then there's various other fees that they can accomplish. If you want pictures of the home, if you want a sign out in front of the house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of those different types of things, you could be paying for them a la carte. But, you know,
and that's even like more when you combine, not a combo like the one we have a la carte, just one.
Exactly.
One.
And oftentimes, if you aren't a savvy seller, you may look at some of those services and go, "Do I really need them?"
Right.
And not get them.
Right.
And that may be doing a disservice to yourself.
Yep. You're right. Yep.
And because if you look at what's happened in our market
Yes.
over the last few years,
Right.
the quality of the listings has gone up significantly.
Right.
I'm selling a house that I sold to these folks 12 years ago. The agent that listed the house, he had 6 pictures. One picture of the house, the very front of the house, was dark. It was like he took it just before the sunset.
Oh.
So the whole front of the house is very dark. You can't see anything. Now the expectation is with a house like that, we had 60 pictures taken. We had aerial photographs taken. We had twilight pictures taken.
Wow.
So, I mean, in a virtual tour. So all of those types of things are more where the expectation goes into selling some of the properties. And so you need, if you're going to go through that type of advertising, that type of selling, you need a professional to handle it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, no doubt. Even this is not like we buy a products or a piece of things. You know, this is like your investment, your lifetime. Sometimes it's gonna affect a lot. So if something you don't understand or something you concern, and sometimes people buy, they don't even know what they need to ask or what is it that they need to concerned about.
Exactly.
You know, so that's an issue. Like, okay, buying. But with the agent can point it out. Okay, you have to do this, and why you have to do that, and you know what benefit you or what not benefit you, things like that.
Exactly.
You know, just like an attorney advice to the client.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then in the contract, it actually has, in our standard contract right now, it actually has time frames. So one of the first things that you do after everybody's in agreement, the seller, or excuse me, the buyer has to make sure that the earnest money check is deposited at the title company.
Right.
So that's something that the agent would get on them and go, we have to deliver it here.
Right.
What title company do you want if you're just working on your own?
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know how all those timings. The other thing is that's pretty standard on our residential contracts is you have a 10-day inspection period.
Yeah.
Now, you can negotiate it for longer,
right?
But the standard is typically 10 days. So if you're a buyer and you're working without an agent,
right?
Are you going to be aware when that deadline is up? Are you going to have access to the proper forms to be able to follow up with it? In other words, you're going to get the seller's property disclosure statement, the insurance claims history, the title report, and any other various due diligence items. But what are you going to do Are you going to be able to arrange your own inspections? Are you going to be able to prepare a document saying, I want the roof fixed or I want this fixed? So it becomes a little more difficult for somebody that is not a novice when they're trying to buy their home for the first time.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who are accomplished enough that they can do it, but the average folks moving here from other states or buying a home the first time, they just don't have the experience.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. I always think like we need the expertise, doesn't matter what that is when we involve in any transaction that's require with the large amount of money investment, like that's you need to know more about what you buy.
Yes, absolutely.
And like it's not like we don't just come up with a question because we don't know. Oh, so what should I worry? What should I concern? Right? So it's always something.
A lot of times it's what you don't know that's going to hurt you.
There you go. Yeah, because we don't know what to ask. Like maybe the agent know and then point that out ahead of time.
Exactly right.
Say about the AC, say about something, say about inspection. Because if the time went by and then if the contract we have to follow, like we don't just let it go. But now you see the morning to night is very quick. And so time went by, and then if nobody is scheduled for anything, or even if we don't have anything, we're not going to sit there, or we have to have the agent to call and contact the seller, say, give me the stuff or something, right?
Exactly.
Because legally, like they have to give, but what if they don't give? Then we cannot just sit there and wait.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. Yeah, I think definitely the agent, the buyer need the agent for sure. Yeah.
So I think that over time, I think that the system will learn how to accommodate that. But I think on the short run, I think that we're going to have some buyers who are going to be put in bad positions.
Yeah, because like the listing agent, well, it's good that if they can go out and take that listing and they do exclusive and they can sell it, then it's okay. So which means like everybody can be a listing agent, like all of the realtor. That if they work harder, they might can get the listing and they can sell their own listing.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
For that. So that's So that's the market of the real estate. That it's really a big thing. Yeah, I saw that and I go, wow. That is something we need to mention that out. Yeah.
I was going to bring up one other thing, and last week we had someone here in the studio, and they were asking questions.
Yes.
One of which was about commissions. And I've got here a document, and it's we don't have it up on the screen, but this is an actual sales document.
Oh.
And it's called the Combined Closing Statement.
Oh, closing cost. Closing.
And this document, this piece of paper, usually it's only 1 to 2 or 3 pages long.
Yes.
That document is the final accounting of a sale. It's what the federal government would use if they're looking at seeing if there's taxes that are going to be due. And it's kind of the document that helps to standardize real estate transactions nationwide.
Yes.
It works just like an accounting sheet where there's credits and debits. But one of the things that falls under there is commissions. And anything that has to do with commissions has to be put on that sheet. You cannot pay commissions under the table.
Under the table.
You can't give commissions part of a commission back. One of the things is,
or even like credit the money to the buyer outside. That's the same thing.
Not outside. It has to be in this document. And here's a couple of things that I don't think a lot of folks know. Number one, if I'm a listing agent,
right,
and my listing sells, I don't get the check. The check goes to the brokerage.
Oh, okay.
The broker pays me.
Pay out. Yes.
So there's a distinct difference there. So if somebody is asking for a credit from an agent, they actually have to have the credit come from the broker.
Yeah, like broker have to approve.
The broker has to approve it.
Yes.
And typically it's signed and it's documented.
Right.
And then there would even be on this document, there would be a debit and a credit where it would debit the brokerage and credit the client.
Right. So that's really like people trying to do shortcut And they try to be smarter, like they know number and they try to be smarter. Say, okay, why do you put it in? You can just close it and give it to me or something like that, like do that. But in the past, people did do it. That's why
Correct.
it's occurred.
Another place where you could run into problems is your lender. If you're borrowing money, your lender's going to want to know if you got any other money coming in.
Right,
on
right.
that, because that could affect how much money you're actually putting down.
Right.
So when you get into something like that, where you've signed off on this and you've got a side deal going on, you could actually be doing loan fraud.
Right. Because like I see in the past, like even if they put it in there and the lender can approve a gift, something like a gift from somebody, like 5% or something, so they can always put it in there.
But it's on the sheet.
On the sheet.
It has to be on the sheet
because it's got to have approved and at the end, well, sometimes they did it. That's is like if not coming from a realtor, but like if from a realtor for this transaction, it has to appear there.
It has to appear there. Exactly right.
And then maybe like I don't know, we have enough time there, but we can discover this one because some seller when they buy and then they sell the transaction and they have like a out of state like FIRPTA or something. FIRPTA. Okay, so the escrow will automatically take out the withholding.
Yes.
It's just automatically, right? If they declare they are out of state.
It's not out of state.
I mean, not resident.
They're a foreign national.
Foreign national, yeah.
And the rule on FIRPTA, it's the Foreign Investors Real Estate Reporting Act.
Yeah.
Essentially, what happens is the federal government wants to make sure that if somebody is going to receive capital gains,
right?
And we've talked about capital gains. That if you're single, you have a $250,000 credit against paying capital gains. If you're married and it's your with both of these, it's your primary home. If you go ahead and you're married and you sell it, you've got $500,000.
Right.
But oftentimes you may have foreign investors who they bought real estate and it's not their primary home. Their primary home is in a different country.
In a different country. Yeah.
So any profits that they would gain would be subject to capital gains. So what they require, and it's part of the contract, the person has to declare that they are a foreign national.
They are not? Oh, they are foreign.
A foreign national,
okay.
Yep. That they do not have a taxpayer ID or an employer ID number for whatever entity. Maybe they use an LLC, maybe they did it in their own name, but they do not have that relationship of having paid taxes to the federal government. So what the federal government does is they have the title company hold funds sufficient to make sure that it's around 20% to make sure that they're holding funds until that person files their taxes. They have to file taxes.
So that money stay in the escrow?
It stays with the escrow company. Exactly right.
I see. Wow.
If it doesn't, if let's say that you have a foreign national and I'm selling the property and I'm buying the property.
Buying the property. Yeah.
I may be responsible for that money because the federal government will
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
will go after whoever is
owner of that piece of the property. Yeah. So that's why, like when you buy, when the person, our country, they come here at foreign, let's say Paris, any Vietnam or anywhere, they come in and they want to buy the real estate here.
Exactly.
They can buy the real estate.
They can buy the real estate.
But like if they put down that information to the escrow, then the escrow automatically withhold the money.
Well, it's when they're selling.
When they're selling back.
When they're selling to move their money back.
Oh, I see.
That's when it.
But how about when they buy? Then it's okay. They buy, it's okay.
When they're buying, that's fine.
Then they buy. They can buy those. There's two things. I think like FIRPTA, and the other one is like when about if the seller doesn't have 1031 exchange, doesn't have an LLC or whatever, then the net proceed that go into them is that like require the capital gain withholding?
Once again, if it's their primary home,
Yeah.
250,000 for a single person, 500,000 for a married couple.
Right.
Any profit realized above those amounts is subject to capital gains.
Oh, if the transaction have no 10-to-1 exchange or
other methods where they're
because I know like if the money go back to the personal name, right?
Correct.
Then they have to pay. The escrow have to automatically take out the money.
In that case, no.
No.
Because they're already.
I mean, like more than the 250. More than the amount allowable.
No, the title company doesn't get involved in the capital gains.
Okay.
When you pay your taxes, that's when you do it.
I see.
Your accountant will figure out what your capital gains payment is.
So the government not required for that withholding.
That's correct.
In that standard.
Not on the standard capital gains.
So only the first is that, because that is like a lot of people don't understand. Like there's a way to go around it so that they don't have to like the escrow don't have to withhold that money when they sell the property.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So
only if they don't, if you've got a social security number or a tax ID number or an EIN, any of those things
for the state, for the federal, US,
in the US.
Oh, okay.
So any of those, when you do your taxes, you'd settle up then.
How about like when they purchase that under their name, but then they down the line they transfer to their family member, which is have a U.S. Social Security number. Then at that time, that person selling it, then everything will be going to that person name.
Well, that's an excellent point. If the person coming in is a foreign national and they purchase it, and they transfer it to a family member, now you're getting into a legal issue, and what I would do is I would recommend an attorney take a look at that so that it's structured properly.
Right. So that they don't have to, I think like people, they just know one things, but then they think like it's okay. They just do it automatically.
You got to be careful because they will come back and take a look at that.
But like as a buyer, when we buy any piece of property, we also have to pay attention to that matter in regard to the seller, right?
Exactly.
Because if let's say if you understand it, then you don't see that in there, you can request. Right? You can request to see if the seller is a seller in U.S. or out of country, right? Then because otherwise you will have to pay the tax.
Well, and Uncle Sam,
you have to be like liable for that.
Uncle Sam is going to look at the transaction and go, who's involved? You got the title company, you got the buyer, you got the seller, you got the agents. Who's in the country? The seller's not in the country, so you got the title company, the agents, and the buyer. So that's who they could go after.
Yeah. Same as like I'm talking about like product. I bought something from Europe, and then they send the FedEx here. When I pay for it, I pay everything like tax included and everything included. But like when they send FedEx here, FedEx make me pay the tax in according to the value of the item I received.
Right.
Which is like more money I didn't expect it. So that's it. Yeah. Oh wow. We didn't know that. I thought I only pay one tax to them, but now I also do pay that extra tax. I would have negotiated or bargained more about that.
They're always going to try to get you on the taxes, that's for sure.
So I think today we got a very interesting things like maybe benefit to the seller, benefit to the buyer, benefit to the seller about the news, and benefit to the buyer about if we understand about the FOTA things. And then you think like for this season, I think like when I drive out today, for some reason, because of gloomy or something like the weather go down, it makes us go down too. I feel like very down, like we no energetic doing anything. So then you think like the still going on with the snowbird about
the snowbirds are starting to come here, and traditionally the snowbirds always give us a boost in our real estate industry. I I don't expect this year is going to be as big as it's been in some past years.
Yes.
We've had some record-setting years in the past. But by the same token, the prices don't seem to be coming down much at all. Interest rates are still hovering around 8%.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of snowbirds who come in, and frankly, they have cash.
Oh, that's better for them. Yeah, right. If they buy everything like in cash, then the benefit is that the transactions go faster. If they have a knowledge real estate agent that help them, then they understand about that requirement or what to do with it. Even they pay for tax. I mean, they pay for cash. Yes. Because I know like a lot of people think of the benefit if they borrow the loan, then the lender is the one that help them to like inspect the property, like require this, require that.
They
right?
can, they certainly can. Yeah. But now we're getting to the stage where if they have sufficient resources to pay for it with cash, it doesn't make sense in some cases to take a loan out.
No.
Yeah, at 8%, that's pretty significant.
Like
cost of money.
some was back in the future. I mean, back was in the past, like go to up to 10%, right? 10.
I remember in the early 80s, it was up around 16 to 18%.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
But
my God.
But we went into a bad recession at that time.
That's so bad.
And the home building industry was pretty flat for a long time.
Yeah. So we talk about like people at that time, they have money, they buy very low, very good grade, and then price, and then now they sell it, they make a lot of money.
Well, we've been spoiled here the last probably 10 years. After the Great Recession, interest rates fell. Yeah. And some of them fell to historic lows. Yeah. But
because like one time I remember like people thinking like from California, okay, they thinking like Arizona, we're gonna buy because it's so cheap in Arizona, just go and buy and then you sell it, you will make money. But from that time I heard like a lot of people like went bankrupt because the price here is not even go up, and then
it was there was a time when it was pretty stagnant.
So they have to like go lost a lot of time foreclosure.
But interest rates right now, everybody is upset that 8%. Years gone by, I paid 8% for the first home that I purchased.
Yeah. Right.
And that wasn't uncommon. Yeah. 6 to
because they used 8%. To like 3%, 4%, 5%.
They got spoiled.
Yeah, they got spoiled. Yeah, for a while. For that. So we, I think if we the best way to save money right now to save it, and then just think whenever there's a good chance, like the good house you like, or maybe like interest rate or whatever, then that time you have enough money to go out. Don't overspend. Just save money.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So do you have anything else to share before we gonna see them?
That's probably about it. Like I said, I think through the holidays we're going to see things that the flow with the snowbirds coming in, but it's not going to be as great as past years. People ask, what do I think is going to happen with interest rates? Hopefully, the Fed does not raise interest rates anymore. One of the things they were raising interest rates for was to bring down inflation.
Inflation, yes.
But the problem was every time they raised the interest rates, now it was more expensive to go buy a house.
Exactly.
So they were chasing the housing costs, which is a big component of inflation. They were chasing that higher. That needs to just kind of be stabilized.
Right.
I think a little bit of stabilization in the market will go a long way. And then maybe towards next summer, I know some people are already saying that we may start seeing reduction in interest rates again.
Okay, let's cross the finger and hopefully
shine my crystal ball up.
Right. For that. So thank you so much for watching Real Estate Investment for Beginner with us, VATV. For any question, you can always contact to Mr. Scott Bartlowe with the phone number on the screen, or you can send question to VAATV through email vaatv@gmail.com, or to a messenger. You can always contact us by phone as well. Thank you so much for watching, and hope everybody has a great weekend. Oh, and don't forget, tomorrow we're going to have a music entertainment so we can have some fun every 2 weeks. Have a nice good night. Bye. Yes.
LinhVi xin cảm ơn sự theo dõi của tất cả quý vị trong những giây phút vừa qua. Chương trình VATV xin kính chào, tạm biệt và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị vào lần phát hình kỳ tới. Mọi chi tiết về thông tin thương mại và bảo trợ, xin mời quý vị hãy liên lạc về địa chỉ email vaatelevision@gmail.com và số điện thoại là 480 289 9816 480 289 9816, website vaatv.com và vaaznews.com. Xin kính chào, tạm biệt.